I call this regular meeting of the Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD Board of Trustees to order at 7 p.m. on March 4th, 2021. Board members, district staff members, and members of the audience, you are free to join me in standing as Ruth Sign from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints provides a message, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and the pledge to the Texas flag, which will both be led by Randy Shackman.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we are so grateful for the opportunity that we have to be here amongst so many men and women who have come together with the desire to help the parents and students and community of the Carrollton area. We're so grateful, our dear Heavenly Father, for all of our many blessings and for the liberties and blessings and food, of shelter that we benefit from on a daily basis. We pray for Thy Spirit to be here with everyone today, that we can be led by it, that it can guide the discussions, and that it can be one of love and peace and for the betterment of the students and parents. We love Thee so much, and we're grateful for all of our blessings, and pray that we will be able to get home safely as the meeting adjourns and be able to go to our homes and our families knowing of Thy love for us. And we say these things in the name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sign. Mr. Shackman, thank you very much. Welcome to everyone tonight. We're glad to have people in the room with us tonight, and to see all the visitors with us tonight on this lovely spring day in early March. We're thankful for lovely weather after what we've been through since our last gathering. As a district, we dedicate all our efforts and resources to our goal of high expectations for all. The board uses this goal to guide all deliberations, decisions, and actions. You will get to see all deliberations, decisions, and actions of the board in open session, with the exception of some items which may be discussed in closed session as stipulated in the Texas Government Code, Section 551, commonly known as the Open Meetings Law. These items typically deal with personnel matters, consultation with our attorney, and real estate. For the record, the board members present are Tara Bachik, Sally Derrick, Randy Shackman, and myself. We constitute a quorum and may conduct business on behalf of the district. Before moving on to the next agenda item, I'd like to remind you that the board will accept comments from citizens of the district and district employees. Anyone wishing to speak either as an individual or as a representative of a group may do so during agenda item number 3, Audience for Guests. Please submit your request to do so on one of the forms provided on the table just outside the boardroom door. You may place the completed form in the box provided on the same table, or present your completed form to Administrative Assistant Kim Castagnon. When the board addresses items or agenda item 3, Audience for Guests, you will be invited to the podium to speak to the board. Our next agenda item is number 2, Special Presentations and Recognitions. So Dr. Chapman, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, sir. Every month we like to celebrate our outstanding teachers, and so we want to present to you our teachers of the 9 weeks. Ms. Purnell?
Yes. Good evening, Dr. Black, Dr. Chapman, board members, and as Dr. Chapman said, we are very excited to share with you our teachers of the 9 weeks. So at this time, if you will join me in watching a brief video about these outstanding teachers.
Christina Hobbs, Blair Elementary. Kim Sadler, Blanton Elementary. Kelly Martinez, Carrollton Elementary. Melissa Faz, Central Elementary. Jennifer Franklin, Country Place Elementary. Gabriela Perez, Davis Elementary. Vanessa Sessions, Farmers Branch Elementary. Meredith Hollis, Freeman Elementary. Shelley Roberson, Furneaux Elementary. Adriana Cruz, Good Elementary. Cynthia Rondon, Kent Elementary. Bailey Sprague, La Villita Elementary. Sarah Lindsay, Landry Elementary. And Star Phillips at Las Colinas Elementary. Congratulations to our teachers of the 9 weeks.
We are so proud of these wonderful educators, and we will have this posted on our website. So take a chance tomorrow and look at it again. And if you see them, congratulate them on their hard work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations to all our fine teachers who've been honored tonight. Next is district announcements and superintendent report. This is item 2B1, superintendent's report.
Yes, sir. Thank you. First, we have some artwork in front of you. It's Creekview High School. Again, we like to demonstrate the excellent work that our children do. And so Creekview is this month. In the last 24 hours, 48 hours has been exciting and fun for school districts and superintendents across the state of Texas as new announcements have been made. And so, I want to talk just for a second about the mask order. And so the executive order, which is GA 34. We got further clarification today from the Commissioner of Education. All school districts will be required to wear masks, okay? So until the end of the school year, unless the Board of Trustees were to take action to do otherwise. There are some other stipulations in there, but none of which CFB would fall under. So this has been an ongoing conversation. We had already made the announcement that we were going to stick with masks. We think that it's premature at this point, but maybe next school year we can have that conversation, but things are going too well. As Mr. Mersch, he keeps up with our COVID positive and quarantines, and we are at some of our lowest right now. This is not the time to reverse that because we've had such struggles over the course of the last 7-8 months, and so we want to continue that because our teachers and our students have done such an exceptional job of holding true with all of the process and procedures that we have in place. Another announcement came, and this came from President Biden, and then it filtered down to the governor, and then we got the official announcement yesterday, is that now teachers are on the list to receive a vaccine. That's exciting, that's wonderful, but let me preface to say that there's 1.4 million people on the waiting list as we speak. 1.4 million right now. There's 360,000 teachers across the state of Texas. So as that is exciting, there's still a waiting list that's out there. But there's good news, and we don't know the full extent at this point, but Ms. Leak and her magic and Mr. Mersch, the work that they've been doing, we may become a vaccination site very soon. CFB. There's not another district in our area that I know of that would be able to do this. In the event that that happens, we're crossing our fingers that we might, I want to make that clear, that be able to provide vaccinations for our teachers. That would be huge. They've already mapped out places to go. It would be all over the district, so teachers would not have to miss much work. They could go over, get the shot, and then they could be back. We could cover for them. And so I will be sending the board things as we know that this becomes official. But no, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to support and help our staff as much as we can to, and if this happens, and if we get the vaccinations, again, we're going to be very lucky in CFB to support them through that process. This week, we also went through our training for our Emergency Operations Center, EOC training, and so the cabinet went through that process again. We implemented this back a year and a half ago when Mario came in, and so we did our update training. We've had several new employees, and that was very refreshing. In the event that we have an emergency, ice storm even, a big event. We walk through that one more time. And so that just letting you know we're staying on top of the safety and security component of that. Another piece that I also want to mention under safety and security is technology and devices. And so at the April board meeting, we're going to have a conversation about content keeper and gaggle. And what does that do to serve or protect our children as they're doing searches on their iPads and or their Chromebooks? So we're going to walk through that with the board. I gave you some information this week. I believe it was yesterday. But we want, Scott Monroe is going to give you an update. We're going to walk through what does it do and how does that move forward. There's also another piece of that through Project Connectivity, which is going to be on a state level. Legislation's talking about it as we speak. And we're going to be asking people like Google, YouTube, can we have an additional search, a protection that only they can do? And we'll see if we get some legs on that. But that's something that a number of superintendents have been talking about. But again, you're talking to Google and YouTube. So let's hope that that'll move forward. But I just wanted you to know that is in the books. We will be having those conversations April 1st board meeting. I also want to recognize Coach Boone. He is our new Newman Smith athletic coordinator. We're so excited to have him on board. He's going to do great things for our district. So thank you so much for being here today. We also are going to have another coach. We're going to introduce him in the next board meeting in April, and that is Tony Castillo, and he is the Creekview head coach. So Coach Castillo will be the new Creekview head coach athletic coordinator. Again, we will send that information to you this week, and then he will be at the April 1st board meeting. When it comes to legislation, there's been a lot of conversations about House Bill 3. We are confident now that House Bill 3 will be funded fully. Another announcement came from the governor today around 1 o'clock is that he's going to keep us whole harmless for the spring, but there are stipulations, so it's not automatic. And we have to make sure that we're monitoring our student attendance all the way through the end of the year to determine whether we get that funding. And so he says we've got it, but we have to follow these guidelines. So we're hoping that our attendance will stay where it is today, but there's no guarantee until we get to the last day of instruction. So I think it's a fair shake, but interesting that the legislation was talking through it, and then the commissioner was going to have a conversation about potentially do it, and then the governor comes out today and says it's done. So very interesting process that took place over the last week. We're still talking through virtual learning and virtual academies for next year. I'm not talking remote learners and in-person learners. I'm talking about students that will be in a virtual academy for the entire year. We are still studying this. We need the funding. Spoke to a number of legislators over the last week, and they feel comfortable, not confident, but comfortable that they're going to have some bills that are going to gain some traction and possibly pass. So we'll see, but we can't do anything. We can't hire people until we know that that's going to take place. There are a number of districts in our area that hope to offer a virtual academy for the 21-22 school year. Graduation. So University of North Texas notified us this week that we will not be able to have graduation at their facility. So they notified all the districts. So we have a Plan B. And that Plan B has moved to where it's going to be at Standard Stadium. And we're going to do them in the mornings because it's going to be hot. We'll do 2 on Friday, which is May 28th, Creekview at 8 a.m., Smith at 10:30 a.m. And then on the 29th, we'll have Ranchview and Early College High School at 8 a.m. and Turner at 10:30 a.m. And I'll send this to you in a memo, and this stuff will go out. But I wanted you to hear it first that unfortunately we're not going to be able to have it there. But we started working well in advance, just like you'll see a number of our programs now are in person, like retired teachers or the reception of Teacher of the Year. Right now, we still have it planned for in person, but as we get closer, unfortunately, we're having to shift to virtual on a lot of pieces. But the way that this is mapped out, that it's going to be at Standard Stadium, it will be very similar to the Texas Motor Speedway that we did last year, and so we'll be able to space people out. We'll be able to have a program to celebrate all of our graduates. So more information coming. CV 2030. So Dr. Asbury, she will be in the district on March 23rd and March 30th, and that will be our milestone meetings. And so the collaborative vision team of over 64 stakeholders across our community will meet, and they're going to look at what we've done and where we're going and making sure that we are on track. So they're holding us accountable, which they should, for the work that they asked us to do. And so I'm celebrating that piece as we move forward. But we're going to keep moving forward. We're going to keep talking to legislation. I feel very comfortable that monies are going to be there. We had about a $1 billion shortfall this year. There's almost $5 billion coming from the federal government. And again, we only need $1 billion of that. The $4 billion that is coming in, still designated for public schools. They're looking at several other options. So we might even have more money coming to us this year than we had originally thought. But until a bill is passed, I don't hold my breath. But our legislation, they're doing an exceptional job. And our personal legislators, I got to give it, they're exceptional. When they're in meetings, when they're on the floor having conversations, they are always calling or texting, and that is huge. They want to hear, how will that affect CFBISD? And so I can't thank all of those individuals enough for the work that they're doing. You have any questions for me in the first part of the superintendent report? We have several items, but in the update. Okay, at this time, we're going to talk about reading academies, and we're going to have Ms. Myers and Ms. Kelly come up and present the board about where we are with reading academies and what the future holds.
Good evening, President Black, Dr. Chapman, members of the board. I'm Susan Kelly, Director of Elementary Language Arts, and it is my pleasure to share with you the information about the CFB implementation of the Texas Reading Academies. As you probably recall, the Reading Academies are part of the Science of Teaching Reading initiative under House Bill 3. This initiative aims to increase teacher knowledge and implementation of evidence-based practices to positively impact student literacy achievement. At this time, our coordinator of early learning, Sandy Meyer, is going to share some specifics about how CFB has implemented the Texas Reading Academies.
President Black, Dr. Chapman, members of the board, I am honored to serve CFB in the new role of Coordinator of Early Learning. Not only do I have the opportunity to work with our pre-kindergarten teachers and students, but I also have the joy of overseeing the HB3 Reading Academies. CFB is one of only 18 districts in the state to implement our own reading academies as an authorized provider. My role is to serve as a liaison between TEA and CFB. I monitor the progress of all of our participating educators to ensure that all complete the Reading Academies successfully. I also work with Susan Kelly to prepare materials for each of our professional development opportunities. HB3 states that all current kindergarten through third grade teachers, special education teachers, and principals must obtain the Reading Academy certification by 2023. With 100% campus participation, CFB was proud to begin our 16 cohorts in the initial TEA Reading Academy launch in July of 2020. We currently have 555 educators enrolled in the Reading Academies. The most significant advantage to being an authorized provider is that we are able to have our elementary language arts instructional coaches serve as our cohort leaders. These instructional coaches are experts in the field of literacy and are well equipped to guide their campuses in transferring the Reading Academy's learning into the classroom. Their work as cohort leaders is in addition to their regular instructional coaching duties, and their dedication to CFB teachers and students is to be commended. The Reading Academy's curriculum is divided into 12 modules that equals 60 credit hours. The entire academy must be completed within 11 months. This curriculum, as you can see, is designed to address the needs of all students. CFB created a timeline to guide the progress of all educators through the Reading Academies. We strategically place professional development opportunities throughout the school year to build crosswalks between the Reading Academy's content and our own CFB curriculum. At this time, Susan Kelly, our Director of Elementary Language Arts, will expand on those trainings a bit more.
It's important to remember that our CFB teachers are participating in the Reading Academies modules outside of the school day, and I'm so proud of their dedication to improving their teaching skills. When it comes to improving student achievement, the teacher matters. In CFB, we continually strive to improve the knowledge and skills of our teachers, and despite the challenges of this year, we chose to fully implement the Reading Academies, and in addition to that, we went above and beyond. We know that participation in the academies is an important step, but even more important is implementing what is learned in Reading Academies into real classroom practice. To help teachers clarify their understanding and transfer their learning, we built professional development days into the calendar to ensure the understanding and application of evidence-based reading methods that best support the development of skilled reading. As Sandy mentioned, our ELA coaches work side by side with teachers on a daily basis to help solidify their new learning. Proficient reading requires readers to decode accurately, read fluently, and comprehend texts at high levels, all in increasingly difficult text. Teaching reading is complex. Teachers need a firm grasp of reading development, especially in understanding of phonemic awareness, phonics, and fluency development, to ensure that all children develop a strong foundation for reading and writing. We know from research that on-grade level reading by the end of third grade is one of the strongest predictors of high school graduation and is critical for school success. The Texas Reading Academies are designed to provide teachers with the knowledge they need to make this happen. In CFB, in addition to implementing the Reading Academies, we have put into place foundation skills assessments to determine gaps in foundation skills. We are prioritizing phonics instruction to ensure our students have a strong foundation in reading. Small group instruction has never been more important than now, as teachers need to provide instruction tailored to meet the needs of a range of readers. This is complex work, and there is no quick fix. Increasing student reading performance requires a skilled teacher equipped with the knowledge to implement differentiated instruction to meet students' needs. We believe the Reading Academy training, in conjunction with our well-balanced curriculum, will result in high levels of achievement for all students and will contribute to our achieving the HB3 board goals for early literacy. Thank you.
Thank you. Board members, do you have any questions regarding the Reading Academy?
Great job.
No questions. It's an exciting, exciting topic, and the training that so many teachers are getting to bolster their reading and pedagogy is really exciting. So this is, I really thank you guys for coming and sharing this with us tonight.
You're welcome.
Thank you both.
Okay, next we're going to talk about our quarterly reports. And so we give the board a quarterly report. So Q2 we handed to you guys recently. This also, all four quarterly reports becomes our annual report. All of this is developed through the Collaborative Vision 2030, the House Bill 3 board goals, and the District Improvement Plan. So we thought it would be very important that we're going to break these down So tonight, we're going to talk about Q1, and then, which is objective 1, and then April 2, May 3, and then in June, we're going to hit 4 and 5. So at this time, I'm going to turn over our Q2, objective 1 to Dr. West.
And I'm going to stay here as Olivia Perez, Director of Secondary Bilingual ESL, and Carolina Christensen, Director of Elementary Bilingual ESL. Go ahead and move up here and get set up. But at your table, you have the quarterly report. And as Dr. Chapman just said, that you all have been getting quarterly reports since he's been here as superintendent. And one of the things as a new person in CFBISD that I was most impressed with is the fact that even though during a pandemic and all the many things that we've experienced, it is really nice to be able to continue to focus on optimizing, engaging diverse learning, optimizing facility safety, all of the optimizing, and to actually have evidence of it collected so that you all can continue to take a look at that. As you, in the information that you have, your quarterly report, on page 2 is where the optimizing, engaging, and diverse learners begins. And as you can see, there's a lot of different parts and pieces that go in optimizing and engaging diverse learning. Page 24 is the facilities. Page 55 starts with optimizing community engagement. Page 80 is about social and emotional health. And then page 82 starts with the optimizing all available resources. We'll continue through all of those. Tonight, we wanted to, just out of all of the engaging diverse learner part of optimizing in the first one, I wanted to have the opportunity, because of the work that we've been doing this year and in a pandemic and how it's changed, for you to hear from Olivia Perez, as I said, and Carolina Christensen about how we're working with our bilingual and our ESL students to optimize and engage diverse learning.
Good evening. President Black, Dr. Chapman, members of the board. I'm Carolina Christensen. I'm the elementary director for bilingual ESL. We're pleased to share with you some of the good news of the work that our teachers are doing with our language learners. Who do we serve? First of all, it's important to know that Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD serve a third of our student body are English learners from pre-K to 12th grade. More than 1,800 of those students are new to the country, and they require support in language and also in navigating the American school system. Even though 79% of our students' first language is Spanish, we support students who speak 45 different languages, some of those languages with different alphabetic principles. We also honor their culture. We have 78 different countries of origin in our district as they learn with us. We're very proud of our bilingual Spanish-English program that serves more than 3,000 students, including students who are learning Spanish as their second language.
President Black, Dr. Chapman, members of the board, my name is Olivia Perez, and I'm the director for the secondary bilingual ESL. And just as we work together, we'll be working together on this presentation as well. We support our students starting in pre-K through the schools and through graduation. We have curriculum written yearly for our students that keeps staying innovative and using multimodal literacy in order to reach our students. We have professional development for our teachers that includes strategies and tips on not only how to teach the English language, but also help them with their academics and in our two-way dual language strategies. We offer graduation and credit support for our high school students and include a parent, family, and community support in order to serve a well-rounded student.
As we serve our families of our language learners, we have developed systems that allow us to communicate in their home language. Through the use of technology, especially this year, We have been able to share our workshops with the parents in more than 60 languages through caption. We also support our little ones. We know that early literacy is crucial for academic success, so we welcome our parents to be partners in the Latino Family Literacy Project. In collaboration with UNT, CFBISD is participating in Project Success, funded through a Department of Education grant, aiming to improve academic achievement of Hispanic students. The Latino Family Literacy Project is part of Project Success and is designed to improve parent and family engagement in their children's education. The Latino Family Literacy Project offers parents the opportunity to develop lifelong reading and language development habits around culturally diverse texts. Parents, teachers, and pre-service teachers work in collaboration for 10 sessions of 2 hours each year. This year, the program has adapted to meet the needs of our families, and with great response from all of them. They meet in a virtual environment and talk about books, language, and strategies on how to support their children. The virtual model also requires support with materials and books to make the workshop possible. In the 4 years of the project, we have more than around 200 families participate in the workshops at 11 bilingual elementaries. And next year, we will have the last 2 bilingual schools participating in the project. All of this effort is only possible through the dedication and skills of almost 60 teachers from pre-K to 2nd grade who understand the impact of family involvement to affect positive academic and socio-emotional outcomes. After participating in the workshop, parents felt empowered to support their children and encouraged to maintain cultural connection with them. Through their testimonies and letters to their children, they write a letter at the end of each workshop. They realized that their cultural capital and that they have and how important it is to their identity. They also have the resources to continue the literacy practices at home and felt confident in their ability to support their children's academic development. As an added bonus, the pre-service teachers participating in the project were able to get a taste of CFBISD, and since then, we have recruited several bilingual teachers from this project.
This solid foundation that has been built in pre-K and early literacy and through elementary helps us bridge over to our secondary. We were concerned that a virtual environment for our English learners, who we considered one of our most vulnerable groups, with many that are unaccompanied minors, students that have interrupted formal education, and their inability to understand the spoken or written instruction concerned us. And so in the summer, we proactively set forth to set up some programs that would help give a solid start for them and offer support throughout the year. This began with our homework hotline for RELs. It is staffed with 4 teachers and a coordinator that kind of manages all of this. Students are able to go into this virtual center, receive tutoring, homework help, and language assistance in Spanish, English, or Vietnamese. Currently, we have over 88 students that have benefited, with more coming in weekly. The small group environment and that first language support is part of what has made it successful. When students as immigrants come into a high school, they face many challenges. Through the transcript process, they will sometimes lose some of their credits that they bring in from other countries. Sometimes they have a lower literacy in their first language. And because it is necessary for them sometimes to take up to 3 ESL classes yearly for us to build a base in English, they typically have their schedules filled up and will fall behind in courses credits. So this year, we set up night school scholarships for our English learners. In the fall, we were able to offer 37 students night school scholarships, and some of the students were enrolled in 2 courses, and in the spring, we've offered 4. Many of these students have expressed to us that they would not have been able to gain these credits or take night school if we had not made these scholarships available to them. This is not only helping them gain credits, it's also helping them free up their schedules during the day. So many of our English learners are being able to now participate in many of the academies that our high schools have to offer. We've also been able to have a focused identification committee that really works through and does a transcript review of ELs in order to identify who needs night school, who is falling behind, who is needing a tutor, and also who is needing language credits. We've been able to help many of our ELs gain language credits through the Avant testing that is now set up in our district. We are now offering university interns one-on-one tutoring with our 12th graders, and this is part of our senior support to help our 12th graders. They work closely with the CCMR deans and the counselors in order to help specifically just our 12th graders. This is tutoring, going in during their advisory periods and helping them. So sometimes it is filling out college applications, understanding FAFSA, helping ensure that they receive the recommendation letters that they need, working through some of their classes, ensuring that they're passing, and helping them with things even like ordering their cap and gown. So these are specifically just for our 12th graders. We're also participating in the graduation teams in order to support our English learners. Here we can see Angel, Axel, and Daniel receiving the principal's coin from Dr. Jimenez at Newman Smith High School. These 3 students are exemplars of our program. Not only are they passing all their classes from the fall, they also each took 2 night school courses to gain credits. They were in the homework hotline, and they used our senior support tutoring. They arrived in the U.S. at the end of 2018 and at the beginning of 2019, and they will be graduating from CFB this year. They are great examples of everything that CFB has offered them. They've been able to take and be a part in, and they are happy to talk to anybody about the great things CFB has to offer. When we say high expectations for all in this district, we truly mean all. We are serving our English language learners from pre-K with early literacy, with family support and engagement, with professional development for our teachers, with our homework hotline and ensuring students get credits with graduation, and we're even working with CCMR deans to help them with their postgraduate plans. We truly mean high expectations for all. Thank you for taking the time to listen to us about a few of the things our program has to offer.
Thank you, Ms. Christensen, Ms. Perez. Board members, are there any questions about quarterly report or the program for ELL that we've heard about? Ms. Derrick.
I'd like to thank both of you for all of the hard work that y'all are doing for our kids. This is fantastic work moving forward quickly, it looks like. I have a question and comments, I guess. Both presentations tonight, it very much appears that professional development for our staff is super important. Learning is continuous. We want our teachers to be the best and constantly learning. And it sounds like we're putting a focus on that in each department, which is fantastic. We added some days this year to our calendar for professional development. The first one was last Friday. Is that an example of time that the teachers are able to focus to get some of these professional development?
It absolutely is, because not only does it give them the time to actually take in some of the new theories, the new strategies, and the tips, but it also gives them time to implement it, because it doesn't do any good to feed them if they don't have the time to implement and plan it and work out how it's going to work. So that's been, yes, an excellent example of how we've been able to use that time.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bocek.
No specific question, just a comment. I echo the thanks and appreciation. There was one thing that you said about navigating the public school system and CFB, because I think that is so important since the United States public school system is completely different than anything else, and that with that navigation, I think comes comfort and understanding of the expectations of all stakeholders for that, and with that understanding comes the student success, just like you showed with the 3 gentlemen. I'm sure there's tons more out there that we don't have time to go through them all, tonight, but I just think that's a priority for the comfort in our schools and with administrators and with families understanding the importance of family engagement to student success, because again, that's not an expectation in other countries, and it really does drive the success. So I thank you to you two and the rest of the team for focusing on those things to give our students the comfort when they get into our schools.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you both very much.
Okay, at this time, Mr. Maroney's going to come up and he's going to talk about a topic under CFB Way, 5-star recognition.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Chapman, Dr. Black, members of the board. It seems like 2021 saw pandemic and said, I'll raise you a snowstorm. And so we got off to an interesting start with that. But really, as we did during the pandemic, it's about teamwork. You don't get through something like this individually. And, it's strange that these departments, construction, maintenance, custodial services seem to be always at odds. Construction builds stuff maintenance doesn't want to maintain, and maintenance makes messes that custodians have to clean up. We started this work a while ago, bringing those folks together, empowering our captains to make decisions and work together, and did it pay back. These folks came to the table and they took care of us in a way that just makes me so happy. So led by Victor Melton, our facility services teams pulled together through the storm, starting right back from that first weather day. What do? We start fueling trucks, making sure our generators were prepped, making sure the 4-wheel drive trucks were up front. We knew where everybody was. Donnie visited the plumbing stores and in fact was one step ahead before the contractors started emptying the shelves. And so all that kind of preparation goes into it. The other thing is there was no clear direction at that point. It's Texas weather. Wait 5 minutes, we might have been back in school on Monday. We don't know. So we've got to winterize stuff, but we've also got to be right on that cusp of welcoming kids back the next day. And so that all brought us together. Obviously, Monday the storm hit, and City of Carrollton reached out to us through Amber Gardner and the security department asking for help. We put the notice out to our facility services guys, and within 6 minutes, there wasn't a question of why are we helping, why are we reaching out? No, I'm warm, snug at home, I'm not coming out. Nope, it was what do we do, how can we be there? And so we showed up to support City of Carrollton using Newman Smith as a warming shelter, took some creative problem solving. How do you spread ice melt? So we looked to our friends in the north and they said, well, you use your fertilizer spreaders. So we filled the fertilizer spreaders up with ice melts and spread them on the sidewalks. We used our landscape tractors. We plowed the parking lot so that those folks could get in. And then we staffed that right through. So our custodians worked through 3 shifts, right through the night to support that shelter, making sure that we had presence on the campus if they needed anything, and also make sure that our campus was safe. Later on, our CTE instructor, over at Newman Smith, we have our culinary arts program, and our CTE instructor there, Chef Sagu, got together with some restaurant friends of hers, gathered up some chicken, and actually cooked for the shelter, providing food for those folks as well. So not only was the facility services there, coordination with Amber Gardner, coordinating with the city, everybody pulling together, watching their zone and making it happen. That said, we did have some burst pipes. Blair took a bath. We rinsed it off, got it dried out. McCoy blew a 3-inch PVR valve. And this is just a perfect example. Anthony was there 4 p.m. that evening going home when he sees water coming out of the music room. Well, if you've been over to McCoy, it's music room, technology room, front entrance. Had he not stopped that valve, we would have sunk pretty much the front half of McCoy. Called it in, plumbers were there within 5 minutes, got the water shut off, started drying it out. They worked late that night making sure the music room was ready. We had music in the music room come Monday morning. This was just one example of 26 campuses that took action, and our plumbers were phenomenal. They worked with our teams, and they couldn't have done it alone. They were communicating. We even had electricians practicing as plumbers. We've now moved them back to being electricians. But they had to work together with the custodians. As we brought the water back on, we'd find a burst, shut it down, custodians would jump on cleaning it up, plumbers would make repairs, let's go back to getting the water back on. So these folks worked Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, tirelessly to bring it back on. Creekview was a massive challenge. That's one of the two-pipe HVAC systems that we have, and it's like playing whack-a-mole. We'd bring the system up, one of their handlers would post. Okay, how are we going to heat and cool a cafeteria? Bring in temporary power. Well, there's no power in that area. How do we get generators? So we had EMA from an engineering firm. We had contractors supporting us. We had our custodial staff, about 25 folks all over the campus with radios, plus our plumbing teams working consistently through the whole building to bring that up. Without that teamwork of everybody coming to the table, there was no way school would have happened. We had some fun times as well. Facility services pulled together. We got lunch for everybody on the Saturday and Sunday that they worked. And then when we got back Monday, I just have to have a big thank you. Our chief, Susan Machayo, led her campuses, and they pulled together some thank you cards and recognized our guys. And that's just so wonderful for them to come back. They'd gone 14 days away from their families to come back and see that. So we asked everybody, we said, well, there's so many people to recognize who boiled above and beyond. And it was amazing to hear, without a doubt, everybody said, Donnie Curring made a difference. He's our lead plumber. On Friday, instead of heading back to Austin where he lives, he stayed with the district. That's just something else. He's been a plumber for us since 1999. That's 22 years of service. Slight distraction around 2015. He came back, and he's continued to serve us. The captain said, without a doubt, Donnie is the guy to get the recognition. They went on, I asked them, well, what should we do for them? And they said, well, we're going to get some plumbing parts together and make them a trophy. So if you remember, our artist who built our Panther Polk and our electrician, Mark Loogie, got together. So seeing our team members starting to recognize our captains was just so rewarding. Where's Mr. Donnie? Come on up.
You know, I want to echo exactly what Malcolm had stated. If you watch the news, you can see how many districts suffered from so much damage. And Malcolm and his team, they were ahead of the game. They had plans in place, and we weathered very, very well. But you know, the piece that I also say is these individuals stayed up there for countless hours, making sure they were serving others and making sure that our kids would be at school on Monday. And not because it's just their job, but because those kids have been without school, without eating, and they knew the importance of having those kids back in that building Monday. And so we are extremely fortunate. One of the only districts that we operated and opened every single campus that Monday. So would be with individuals just like Donnie. And so thank y'all so much for what you guys have done. Thank you.
I will echo what you were saying. That Friday at the end of the freeze week, I was sending texts to Dr. Chapman saying, "Are you sure about Monday? Are you sure? Are you sure?" I was watching the news. and seeing story after story about other districts shutting down Monday, shutting down Tuesday. So I said, please extend my thanks to the facilities team for everything they did, not only in making sure the buildings were ready to return to school, but in opening up and serving the community in the way that we were able to do. I think was a wonderful thing. So thank you for sharing that, Malcolm. The next item is 2B2 PTA update. And our PTA representative tonight is Cindy Castillo. Cindy?
I knew I was going to follow that. I don't know what, I don't think I can compare, but I'll give it a shot. Good evening, Board, Dr. Chapman, and President Black. My name is Cindy Castillo, and I serve as the third VP of Programming for the CFBISD Council PTA. Hopefully, you've been able to view many of the programs in coordination with the Council PTA and Parent Ed that we have produced this school year. Some of the topics have included transition to 8th grade and from 8th grade to high school, building and nurturing self-esteem, and even playing card games with your young children. Let's see, I lost my place. All of our presentations are available in both English and Spanish, and you can find them on the CFBISD website under Students and Families, Parent Ed. All of our local PTAs are busy trying to keep families, schools, and community engaged during this school year. Many are doing online programs at their schools. Several are holding virtual fundraisers and coffees with the principal. Coming up will be Creekville holding an outside garage sale in their parking lot on April 17th, where you can rent a space and sell your items. Just contact Ruthie Dudley if you're interested in this event. Council PTA will be hosting a school board nominee candidate forum next month via Zoom. The details and dates will be coming out soon. Hope you will join us with that. Also, please join us for our next council delegate meeting next Wednesday, March 10th at 6:30, also via Zoom. Not only will we be conducting elections, but also Malcolm Mulroney will give a brief update on the bond. Finally, please be sure you like CFB Council PTA on Facebook and Twitter to get the latest news and updates. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Castillo. The next item on the agenda is number 3, audience for guests. Ms. Castagnon, I know I have two forms here. Are there any further? Okay. So we do have 2 speakers for audience for guests tonight. So before we begin, I will remind our audience member of the board's procedures for handling audience for guests. Anyone interested to speak in person during audience for guests must sign in and list the topic they want to discuss. Each speaker will be allowed to speak once during audience for guests. Each speaker will be allowed a maximum of 3 minutes to address the board, dictated by Board Policy BED Local. Because the board wants to hear from as many of you as possible while also keeping the meeting running efficiently, groups of more than 5 people who want to present a particular viewpoint on a topic should appoint one person to speak on behalf of their group. Again, that speaker's presentation will be limited to 3 minutes. If you speak during audience for guests, either individually or on behalf of a group, please remember the board cannot deliberate on any subject that is not included in the agenda for this meeting. Last, we ask that you not discuss students who are not your own child. So our first speaker tonight, it looks like Dr. Pooja Shah. And Dr. Shah, you have 3 minutes. Vice President Ms. Derrick, would you time our speakers for 3 minutes each, and please let the speaker know when there's 1 minute left.
Good evening, dear board members, Dr. Chapman, and President Black, and thank you, audience. I'm Pooja, and I have 2 sons who attend CFBISD school. First of all, I want to thank CFBISD that my older one is in the LEAP program, and it has benefited him tremendously. And he has gotten the opportunity to be successful, and he is at the place where he needs to be. So I really appreciate CFBISD for that too. But today I'm here to represent Ranchview High School. We need more teachers. They are introducing more AP courses, and that will benefit many of the students. If we have more teachers, then they can offer more AP courses for our students. Since they are a small school, I am here to represent most of the students there, and that is my main motto today, that please support Ranchview High School. We are a small school, but please support them with more teachers, more resources, that the students can have more opportunities to run more clubs and take more AP courses. They are transitioning from IB to AP, and we need your support. Please support Ranchview High School. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Zohair Barmal.
Greetings, the board, Dr. Chapman and President Black. I've come as a dad over here, but also I've been in CFBISD for a long time with 2 kids over here. And I have seen, that of course, before the meeting I had something, but I looked in the last 15 minutes, there is a lot of work getting done. And I can see, I saw the numbers of the immigrants and all that. But is there something we can do for those who want to go a little faster? Are there some programs that can be done? I know CFBISD attending to, I saw all the numbers, but what is there for, as a brand image? We had only 6 national merit finalists. What is there to brag about in terms of those who are already at this level until 8th grade with LEAP? And I'm a Ranchview parent too. IB has been taken away, but then, there is nothing more exciting that is going on apart from the academia, like projects or competitions. There are no resources available. So what I have, and I have been involved with education. I've seen my friends and families leave CFBISD, and Ranchview is such a small school because they move. They move to Prosper ISD. There is so much talk about Prosper, so much talk about Frisco. So Ranchview I can be the evangelist. I have a lot of contacts, but give me something to brag about. Give me something, and that would mean is more teachers. If there is a small school, and if we have to run around for sponsors, I am definitely going to try to make the chemistry Olympic happen, but then, it has to come, the administration has to support the principal. I tried to do one program 3 weeks ago. I was talking to a principal, and he said, I'm just worried. Everything does not have to be shut down because of COVID. Principals have to be rewarded.
1 minute.
So create an environment where principals don't have to live in fear of admin building or administration. Innovative teachers, they might make a mistake, but the board and the superintendent, if mistakes are made, just ignore them, but reward innovation. Even if there are 2 kids interested in doing something, there will be something like a, marketing or something that just shines. So I think the district is going great in terms of numbers, but there has to be something that we can make a smaller school like Ranchview. And I know the IT Academy is coming up. We are going to explore that too. And with that, I think I've said enough, and I'll hand back the floor.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We will proceed to our next agenda item now, which is agenda item number 4, the consent agenda. The consent agenda is a mechanism that the board uses to approve a number of routine items together with a single vote. In compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, the public notice for this meeting includes the list of all consent agenda items, and the board has been provided ample information about these items in advance. Prior to any action taken on the consent agenda, board members may request withdrawal of individual items for clarification or discussion. Board members, are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda at this time? Ms. Urbacha.
Yes, Dr. Black. I neglected to mention during our pre-meeting, but I'd like to pull item 4H, the administrator contracts. There's no issues, but I'd like that considered separately, just as I plan to abstain from one of those schools.
Okay. Thank you. So Ms. Urbacha has requested that item 4H be pulled from the consent agenda. If there are no other items to be removed, do I have a motion regarding the consent agenda as amended? I have a motion from Mr. Shackman.
Dr. Black, I move
Yes.
that we approve the consent agenda as presented with the removal of item H.
I have a motion from Mr. Shackman. Do I have a second? Ms. Derrick. We have a second from Ms. Derrick. Is there any discussion? Okay. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed, raise your hand. The vote of 4 in favor and 0 opposed, motion carries. Next item agenda is agenda item number 5, non-action items for discussion. 5A is report on our 2021 budget update. I believe we turn this over to Dr. Duplessis.
Short person. So, good evening, Dr. Black, Dr. Chapman, Board of Trustees. We appreciate the opportunity this evening to share a budget update with you all. Steve Bassett sends his regrets that he couldn't be here physically this evening, but I can assure you he has been very active from home in his work while he recovers, if you want to continue to keep him in your thoughts and prayers. With that said, the topics that we're going to discuss this evening, include these items. So we'd like to provide an update on the finances related to the Student Nutrition Department, an update on enrollment and attendance, transfers and no-shows, a summary of the budget workshop outcomes from earlier this week, a budget process update, and lastly, some financial projections. So as you may or may not know, there has been a significant amount of lost revenue for student nutrition departments within school districts throughout the state and really throughout the country as a result of COVID-19. The estimated shortfall for fiscal year 2021 is $2.5 million to cover the expenditures for the remainder of this fiscal year. A lot of this is a result of the fact that the lost revenue from lack of participation in the program because students either are not on campus or they're not participating in the lunch program is causing a lot of the issues because the expenditures that we have continue. So while we need to look at that and try to control those expenditures as much as we can, we know that that's a critical component of our operation. There is continuing conversation with the government in response to the fact of this being a lack of revenue is really a new idea. Typically when school districts are hurt fiscally, it's not necessarily on the student nutrition revenue side. So it's kind of a new problem. So a lot of districts have had to respond by transferring some funds from the general fund until anything else is resolved to cover for that. So at this point, an estimate for 1 month of operating expenditures is about $0.8 million. So at this point, we're considering a $3.3 million transfer from the general fund to cover the remainder of the expenditures for this year, as well as a month of operating expenditures to provide a cushion to purchase commodity at the beginning of the next fiscal year. This chart shows you our enrollment growth year over year. So you can obviously see the drop in 2021. Our current average daily enrollment is 24,864. As we look at next year and beginning to plan for that, we did get a demographic report. Our demographer provided the number that you see in the 21-22 estimate of 25,790. Our decline in enrollment was about half of what some other districts have experienced, according to our demographer. So at this point, this represents the number that he provided to us. This chart shows you the percentage change year over year in our enrollment. So that you can see that this year we're about 3% down. And so the next year's estimate represents a 3.7% gain, which recovers our 3% and then some small adds. What we've seen a lot is really the lower level grades not having the level of enrollment that they've been accustomed to seeing in growth. So that's why that number is a little bit higher. This chart shows you a couple of things. So the top dotted lines are our enrollment last year compared to this year. So we often get this question, and we spend a lot of time tracking these two numbers because they have a huge impact on the finances that we get from the state. So the top line is your 1920, the black dotted line is our enrollment last year, and then the red dotted line is our enrollment this year. So obviously you can see the decline. But as you follow those bars from the first week of school through the 23rd week of school, which was when we created this, you see that that gap narrowing a bit. And so we're excited to see that. We know that we've worked hard on making sure principals know where they're at. They're looking for students and trying to get everybody enrolled continually, not just at the beginning of the year at one point in time. If you look at the bottom of the chart, the black solid line is 1920 average daily attendance. The bottom solid red line is our current year average daily attendance. So again, you really see us trying to recapture any losses and make more gains in our attendance as the year progresses. The dotted black line you see kind of in between enrollment and ADA floating there, that was our hold harmless value for 2021. Again, that was for the first couple of 6 weeks, and we do have very fresh news that Dr. Chapman just shared with you earlier this evening, but we also know that that news is going to require a great deal of attention from us in terms of ensuring ongoing in-person attendance, since that is a precursor to achieving that hold harmless for the remainder of the year. So this chart represents our transfers in and out of the district throughout the year, not from an enrollment perspective, but what's going on throughout any of the school years. So what you'll see here is the top green line is our transfers in to CFBISD. So what I like to see there is the last couple of years. We have more students transferring into the district, and I think that's the result of a lot of the hard work being done around programs. If you look at the bottom red line, that is our transfers out of the district. The black dotted line is the net value between both of those. But the trend is definitely what we like to see. Our transfers out of the district are decreasing. Our transfers in, they are increasing. So this is good news, and I'm excited to see how these trends continue to develop with some of the initiatives that the campuses have taken on this year. This chart is our no-show student count by campus by year. So if you look at the trajectory, again, what we're seeing in this current year is 2,159 no-shows, which is a reduction of about 450. So at the beginning of this school year, we spent about $117,000 on having people phone their students, phone their families, and get them enrolled. And that obviously had a huge impact. If you think about what we get in revenue from 450 students, it was certainly a worthy effort to connect with our families in that way. So on Tuesday evening, we had our board work study, so we appreciate your participation in that process. As a result, we do have the budget priorities kind of encapsulated here. There was lots of really rich conversation around the things that were important, but top of the list was competitive compensation. Ensuring that we continue the great progress that's been made. For the rest of you in attendance, we shared at the work study on Tuesday evening that CFB continues to be in the top 1, 2, or 3 of our peer districts locally in terms of starting teacher pay. And the trend started about 5 years ago at number 10 and continued to move up. So great gains have been made. And the gap between 1, 2, and 3 has gotten extraordinarily small. It's down to, $100. So there's a lot of great progress that's been made there, and the board's goal was to continue that competitive compensation so that we're getting the most highly qualified teachers that we can in the district. Campus allocation increases was another item that was a priority. As we looked at our campus spending per student for instructional purposes, and kind of peeled back the layers and looking at how that was calculated over the years. It hadn't been changed for a number of years, at least 10 that we know of. And so while we've augmented a lot of departmental budgets for programming, that calculation has not increased. So that was another goal or priority, was to take a look at that campus spending and see what might be able to be done there. The third item was supporting programs that drive academic results. And again, it was something that we hadn't really peeled back reports on, things that we'd done in departments to enact programs and support those programs. And so that was a note that we made, that that's something we need to really gather more information and provide more feedback on, as well as how that results in academic growth. The fourth item was looking at our attendance. And as you saw, we have made gains, but we also know that attendance is very significant, not only from a funding perspective, but for our students to be able to have the academic growth we want them to have. So looking at our the possibility of enacting an attendance incentive would be beneficial for students and also provide a way for campuses to earn more funds to be used at the campus. And lastly, summer school enhancement. A lot of great work is going into plans for this summer school. I think it's going to be like nothing you've ever seen before. So I'm really excited to see that. And the priority here was to continue that great work and not just, start off with the assumption that we may make all those gains in one summer. So that's just kind of a quick snapshot, and I know we'll continue to have further conversations on those items as we develop the budget for next year. So Dr. Chapman and Dr. West also challenged the budget team to kind of look at the way that we develop our budget and challenged us to improve the process. So I've shared before that we really try to flip that process on its head and start by meeting with instructional leaders, and then start by meeting with departmental leaders on what their needs are, rather than kind of beginning with a prior year allocation. So there's been a lot of great communication around these ideas, and I really appreciate our leadership sharing some expectations with leaders in terms of how we want to manage our budgets and what they're there for. We want people to use their available funds, and we want them to keep us informed on what they're doing and let us know once they're concerned about their funds, how they may need more, ensuring that we are knowledgeable about our areas and our resources, that we're following all our proper purchasing protocol, and that when we are requesting additional funds, we're relying more on budgeted funds as opposed to one-time allocations for a given purpose. So what that means to me on a campus or departmental level is, rather than having to request funds for a given purpose, if we know at the beginning of the year that that's something we want to do, we want to lead with those resources so that those leaders can implement the things that they want to do right away without having to go through extra effort when they're trying to implement those things. So this represents the progress that has been made to date on our 21-22 budget. We have had our meetings with instructional leaders. We've completed some work around payroll calendars and staffing formulas. Just really kind of crunching numbers, no decisions, but just lots of information coming in, lots of testing in the system and processes. So the allocations have been released for some of the departments. The campuses are still coming very soon. We've talked about our budget priorities here Tuesday evening. So you can see here represented all the things that we are working on and getting ready to complete. Our department budget meetings some of them got moved because of the snowstorm. So we're still catching up with those, but almost complete. And then we have also initiated a new position request process so that our leaders who have a concern with that can provide that information. And it's about 50% complete in terms of receipt of that information. So this is the remainder of the work. So we're going to continue to allow folks to submit their budgets through the end of March. We will provide an update to the board in April and May. We'll start talking about things like staffing and compensation and major budget initiatives. The approval of new positions will happen around May, board update in June, and that's when you'll also be presented with the compensation plan. Once that's complete, we'll start running our final payroll snapshots and do a final update informationally to the board at your regular August board meeting. And then, of course, the board approval of the tax rate and budget adoption would occur at the special meeting towards the end of August. So this represents an updated financial projection. So we wanted to share some information with you on how we're doing this fiscal year so far compared to our prior year and compared to what we budgeted this year. This has probably been the most exciting budget forecasting process in the past year than we've had in a bit. So what you'll see here is if you look at our budget to actual or to prior year, our local revenue increased. We felt like we might have been a little too aggressive when we estimated our local revenue increase of property valuations of about 3.1%. That wasn't aggressive. It came in we're at 6% right now. So that's a great thing. We do know that with the storm damage, people are going to be submitting edits to their property value and trying to have those adjusted. But right now we're looking really good. The state revenue increase in our forecast really was a result of House Bill 3 allocations for special populations. We based some estimates on past information on sub-pops, and some of those have increased. So you'll see a slight increase in that. The payroll budget was up. There were quite a few initiatives that went into place at the beginning of this fiscal year, including a $4.6 million increase for compensation, $4.4 million in an approved retention supplement, $3.4 million in additional positions, and some contingency was in there due to our unknowns. So some great things went into the budget. Other expenses that we've seen throughout the year that we forecasted have been less than the increase. So we did budget increases. We knew that this was going to be a special year, and we wanted to be ready for whatever that was. But fortunately, some of those have not come in quite as high as we originally estimated, but we're sure glad that we budgeted accordingly. If you see the transfer out number, that represents the approved $7 million transfer out to the technology fund. This year, we are also forecasting an additional transfer of the $3.3 million to student nutrition that I mentioned earlier, as well as $4 million for some potential facility improvement projects. So what you will not see here is a forecast for our 21 to 22 preliminary budget. We want to spend a little more time. We're not quite halfway through the budget year yet, so we want to take some more time to look at that, look at some processes, and when we come back in April, we'll have an update for you on that forecast. So what to expect in April. We will share some information at that time on that forecast for the remainder of the year and updated information on our ADA hold harmless. We will look at 6 months of actual expenditures. As I said, we don't have a full 6 months yet booked, so we need to have an update. We'll also get our first look at next year, looking at how our template will operate. There's lots of new rules, so we can look at that more closely, incorporate the budget priorities that the board has set, talk about an initial staffing review, and any other major budget initiatives that have developed over the next month. So at this time, I'll answer any questions that you may have.
Ms. Derrick.
Dr. Duplessis, thank you for the presentation. That was some great information. I have a question for you about the Student Nutrition Fund and the shortfall. Is there any talks, I'm assuming, is that federally funded? And then is there talks at the federal or state level of making up for that for districts? Because I'm sure we're not the only one experiencing this kind of shortfall related to student nutrition.
Yeah, it's district-wide, statewide. And that's part of when I was referring to earlier, the $4 billion of extra funds. We as superintendents are pushing that $4 billion take care of our nutrition. Yeah, because I don't know of a single district that doesn't have a massive shortfall in child nutrition. So that's going to be one of our pushes. They've done a great job reimbursing us on multiple things throughout the year, but nothing in child nutrition at this point. So there's a loud voice, and they have not designated what that additional $4 billion, where it will go in public ed. So we feel comfortable that could happen, but nothing has been moved as of yet.
Other questions? Mr. Bocek?
I like the priorities list. I like how it ended up. I don't know how y'all feel, but I think I would, the first two items are I think the benefit of the teachers and the campuses, but impact the students because we want the best and the brightest teachers, and then the remaining ones are a direct impact, for the students or focus on student success, which is what our job is. So I like that they're different. Thank you for taking that. I like how it ended up. So thanks.
Thank you. We appreciate your feedback. It has, we know we're benefiting from some decisions that have been made in terms of items we've been able to pay for and really focus then on students.
Any other comments or questions? Well, hearing none, thank you very much. Dr. Duplessis? Informative report. The next agenda item is 5B, Student Outcomes Report, and I believe this is Dr. West.
And I am excited to say that you're going to meet more team members that you already know. Tracy Smith, Assistant Superintendent, Joe Gillen, Executive Director of CCMR, and Melanie Williams, Director of CCMR. As they're getting ready to get started, though, this is such a great night to be at CFBISD. When we talked about reading academies earlier and our support in our next one about our bilingual and ESL, all of those things are designed to go back together to how we support your board goals in the House Bill 3 board goals. And tonight we have some really great information and updates to have for you. When we first got started with, when we're in a pandemic and districts were like, oh no, we're going to do remote and traditional, what do we need to get rid of? A lot of districts were getting rid of testing the map, or they were saying, let's not do reading academies. And we said, we're going to buckle up and we're going to keep with the data and we're going to keep with the reading academies. And I absolutely know that's going to get us further ahead for what we're going to be able to do to close those achievement gaps. So we're in a good place. Tracy.
Thank you, Dr. West. I really don't need to do too much tonight because we had all of our language arts department who did such a great job presenting the great things that are going on. So with that, we will get started. And House Bill 3 requires districts to set goals in 3 areas: third grade reading, third grade mathematics, and college and career readiness. Tonight, Joe Gillen and I are here to give you an update on the middle of the year progress towards attaining those goals. As you remember, these early childhood goals for STAR in the areas of literacy and mathematics were adopted by the board in the spring of 2020. The STAR test categorizes student scores into 4 categories: does not meet, approaches, meets, and masters expectations. These charts delineate the percentage of students that we want to achieve the highest 2 scoring levels, meets and master's grade level. The benchmark for previous assessments centered around the minimum bar of passing, which asked students to get about 40% of the questions correct. With STAR, the bar we've set for this goal is to have students attain a score of meets or masters, which means that our students must now answer approximately 75% of the questions correctly in order to achieve that goal. Thus, attaining a 55% goal in both subject areas in 5 years will be a worthy accomplishment. In order for the staff to gauge progress toward end-of-year goal attainment, the district also set goals for the middle of the year. You can see those on the chart towards the bottom of the slide. The actual scores for each subpopulation are noted below each middle-of-the-year goal and are color-coded for ease. Green is used to denote scores that are within 5 percentage points of the goal. Yellow is within 10% of the goal, and the orange color denotes a difference of greater than 10%. Overall, in third grade reading, the district is on track toward achieving its goal for 2021. Now let's take a look at the graph in the middle of the page. First, let me orient you to the data that you're seeing. The red line delineates the 5-year goal presented on the previous slides. Since STAR is administered only 1 time a year, we can't use it to progress monitor. Instead, the district uses MAP cut scores. You can see this illustrated through the dotted gray line on the graph. Sorry. The first data point shows where our third graders started in the fall of 2018. In winter of the same year, there's a slight dip, and the scores rebounded as students took the end-of-the-year assessment in 2019, coming very close to achieving the district's goal. Third graders in the beginning of 2019 school year came in with starting scores slightly higher than their counterparts the year before, and once again took a dip with the winter administration. Note that there is no data for spring of 2020, and thus the dots from winter 2020 to fall 2020 are not connected. We'll call that the COVID gap. Students came back and started above where the third grade counterparts were the prior year, and once again, we see the winter dip. The district is not overly concerned with this dip, as historically our students rebound and surpass the fall scores by the end of the year. In order to recoup the loss and continue students' reading growth, teachers are utilizing a document entitled "A Tool for Moving Students Up Reading Levels." This document identifies by level the essential skills that students need to know and utilize in order to grow. You can go on campuses across the district and see the teachers poring over their reading assessments, pinpointing what students know and don't know in order to fine-tune their teaching and fill gaps through small group instruction. When we last reported student progress in November in mathematics, we were devastated to report that at the time we were off track due to our time away from school. However, as you can see, we've experienced an uptick from fall to winter, and now, according to the state's definition, we're only slightly off track in meeting our goal. In 2019, you can see the gains that the students made as they tested throughout the year, and the district was close to reaching its goal. The third grade students came in slightly behind in the fall of 2019 and made great gains with no winter dip. In fact, we feel confident that had there been no COVID gap in 2020, we would have surpassed our goal. Our fall scores came in much lower than we anticipated, but as we reported in November, this also was not unusual, as this trend played out throughout the state and the nation as well. As the third grade MAP test heavily emphasizes multiplication, and our students missed out on the prerequisite skills that would have been taught at the end of their second grade year. As with reading, we have identified the essential skills students need to continue their growth, and we're relentlessly pursuing those skills through whole group and small group instruction. This strategy resulted in a 5 percentage point gain, and our focused work continues to be a priority. This has been a learning year for all of us, and we would like to commend our reading and mathematics teachers for their Herculean efforts to support both the academic and emotional needs of our students. We also want to thank our parents who continue to show their trust of CFB and their home campus as more of our students have returned from remote to traditional learning. This has really helped our teaching staff meet the needs of our students as we can better see and hear the errors that they're making. It's through this error analysis that we're better able to pinpoint misconceptions and move student achievement forward. Joe is now going to share progress in meeting the district's CCMR goals.
Thank you, Tracy, Dr. Black, Dr. Chapman, and board. College Career Military Ready is so exciting for our students and families as the district continues to support the work moving forward. I'd like to draw attention to the district's mission statement, which highlights college and career readiness. We want to empower scholars to acquire lifelong knowledge, skills, and values that prepare them to compete in the world marketplace. CCMR means that students are ready for life after high school before they graduate. We want each student to be ready for the paths of their choosing. This slide is a reminder of the main goal that we have targeted through 2024. On this slide, we are looking at the current cohort expected to graduate this spring. Overall, despite COVID, we are on track. We are passionate about closing the gaps as we move this work forward. We know it, we see it, and we are on it. Last year's graduates started the year at 40% CCMR and made some progress by mid-year. As you can see, by the end of the year, there was significant progress made. We expect this trend to continue with the graduating cohort for 2021. This year's cohort started higher than the previous cohort and is making progress despite the pandemic. Our hope is that this graduating class will continue to work hard and meet the year-end goal of 73%. The expectation is to see improvement after the spring testing administration. We've been preparing them and stressing the importance of TSI testing, taking the SAT, and industry certification tests, all of which must be in person. This requires all hands on deck to educate and assure our students and families that coming to school and testing will be to their benefit. Looking at this chart, you will see a visual of the CCMR indicators and when students tend to earn them. This visual is helpful and a good reminder of what the indicators are, and it really drives home how much progress is actually made by the end of the school year. We want you to know that a large number of the indicators cannot be earned until a student is classified as a graduate. Several of the indicators can only be earned during the spring semester. An example would be AP testing, which takes place in May each year. Now, Melanie Williams, our coordinator for CCMR, is going to brief you with the boots-on-the-ground work that she leads with the CCMR deans in collaboration with bilingual, special education, and core content departments. Melanie?
Thanks, Joe. I get to do the fun part. As we move forward with the work, there have been some wonderful opportunities for our students. Did you know that more than 400 students registered for our brand new, no-cost PSAT and SAT prep program offered on Saturdays by our own CFB teachers? It was so successful that students pleaded with the teachers to stay online longer. Kudos to our amazing teachers. Our department knows the importance of looking at students individually, identifying their needs and what is within reach for them to show their readiness for college and career. The individualization is key. We truly believe this is a way to close gaps and move achievement forward. It's also exciting to tell you that we're adding additional support on top of the great things the district already does to advance our English language learners. Thanks to Olivia Perez and her team for offering a homework helpline in multiple languages so that students receive the support they need. This year, our CCMR deans that serve the high school campuses reached out to parents and students through email and made personal phone calls in multiple languages to explain the importance of taking college readiness assessments and to emphasize the value of testing and the impact it will have on their futures. We are moving in such a positive direction with personalizing our strategies and interventions for our English learners. Speaking of personalization, this spring, we are going to interview students before and after testing to refine our interventions. Our CCMR department is fairly new, and an important objective this year has been the implementation of interdepartmental meetings so that we can hear the work, support the work, and collaborate. This truly has been the fun part to work with experts and to find solutions to better serve our students. For example, the deans and transition specialists work together to ensure students served by special education have proper graduation plans, endorsements, codes, the best resources, and solid plans needed for college and career readiness. We are looking at students' individual needs, and when collaboration is involved, the solutions are so much better. I look forward to sharing so much more with you about the great work that's being done to prepare our students to be college, career, and military ready, as well as the progress we believe we will see this spring. Circling back to our mission statement, We want to empower our students with lifelong knowledge and skills, and also the values that prepare them to compete in the world marketplace. I am proud of this district and all of the efforts that are going into making this a reality. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Board members, questions, comments? Ms. Derrick.
So I just have a quick question because it's all such exciting information, and we're starting to see kind of where we're at, have a good idea of where the slide was and what we're doing to work on it. When do we get the next report? Do y'all know what month we can
June.
expect? Okay.
We're
Thanks.
very excited about it. Yeah.
Very good. Me too.
No other questions, comments? Mr. Shackman.
Question on the progress monitoring that we're doing in reading and math. We're showing, and yeah, I think you called them MAP cut scores. We've got percentages on there. What are the percentages? Percentage of what? Because MAP doesn't record in percentages. There are percentages that come. I just want to make sure I understand what you're telling us here.
Perfect, thanks, great question.
Yeah.
What Patty and her department have done a great job of working with us is really taking a look at when students pass STAR, what are their MAP scores? Okay. And we start to have correlations that even MAP has done for us, that they say if a student gets a score of X, then they are very likely to meet the meets or the master's level. So those are the cut scores that I was referring to that helps us to put a percentage to where we are.
Great. Thank you very much. That clarifies. I was wondering, is that a percent that reached at grade level RTI or whatever? So, but perfect. Thank you very much.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you for that explanation. Any other questions or comments? I'd like to thank Ms. Smith, Ms. Gillen, and Ms. Williams for your time tonight, your presentation. Thank you very much for being here and sharing with us. The next agenda item is 6 items for discussion and/or action, and the first among those is 6A, which is to address the items pulled from consent. Having been removed from the consent agenda, the next item will be 4H. And Ms. Urbacek.
I move that we approve item 4H with the removal of Ranch View High School.
I have a motion from Ms. Urbacek. Is there a second? Second from Ms. Derrick. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor raise your hand. All those opposed, raise your hand. Oh, excuse me. So here, with a vote of 4 in favor and 0 opposed, the motion carries. Oh, excuse me, 3 and 0 opposed, the motion carries. Okay, thank you. So, so going backwards for a moment, the motion to approve with the removal of Ranch View High School passes by a vote of 4 to nothing. And so now, is there a motion regarding Ranch View High School? Ms. Derrick.
I move that we approve 4H with Ranch View only included.
Is there a second? Mr. Shackman? We have a second from Mr. Shackman. All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? With a vote of 3 in favor, 0 opposed, and 1 abstain, the motion carries. Okay. The next agenda item is 6B, consider approve request for approval TEA missed school day waiver. Dr. Chapman?
Yes, sir. Thank you. So, as you're aware, we missed multiple days of school due to the snow and ice storm that we had. So what's in front of you is, last Thursday, February the 11th, was the ice piece, and we made that decision based on our number of our staff members that were not located in CFBISD. I mean, that was the sole reason. Our roads were good. We were up driving at 3:30 in the morning, and it was decent. The problem is when you have 60% of your certified staff do not live in CFBISD, that's a major problem. So after consulting with all 14 neighboring districts, we made the decision to close that day. Then the following week, we were waiting to hear from TEA, the Deputy Commissioner of Education, Alejandro, to see, will the state of Texas give us a 3 missed day waiver for bad weather days. And on Sunday, he sent an email to us and said, yes, we will consider that upon board approval, obviously. And so we were able to then call school without going virtual. And we didn't want to do virtual. And the reason we didn't want to do virtual is because of the number of power outages that were happening. That was been silly on our part. Then whenever it came Tuesday, we and the commissioner, deputy commissioner, had a conversation about, we don't think this is going to go away, that there's a bigger chance of snow coming on Wednesday. Then would they extend that statewide for more than 3 days? We got the information in hand on Tuesday, therefore then we canceled Thursday and Friday school. With that being said, it would require board approval for those days. Now, we are not going to be like other districts. There are some districts that have what's called banked minutes. So by law, you have to go to school a minimum of 75,600 minutes per school year. Okay, doesn't matter to the days. That went away 4 or 6 years ago. So we have to do the minutes. Well, we do not bank more than 1 day for this school year. 420 minutes is considered 1 school day. So we don't have enough to bank. So where some districts, neighbor districts, may have several days banked, they weren't worried about Thursday or Friday or Monday. Thank goodness on Friday and Monday we didn't have any kiddos in school, so it was just employees. But with that being said, TEA came back and allowed us to file a waiver for more than the 3 original missed day waiver. So therefore, in front of you, you have February 11th, 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th. And we are asking the Board of Trustees to allow us to file a waiver tomorrow morning that we do not have to make these days up. If the board so chooses not to approve this waiver granted tonight, then we are going to school. We're going to have to extend the school year by 3 days. And then we're going to have to use our 2 bad weather days that is already noted in our calendar. Those are the 2 options. Extend the year, and this is a third option. Third option would be use the 2 bad weather days, and then we would have to extend our school day by, and I haven't done the calculations, but when we were looking at it before, it was 37 minutes additional per day till the end of the school year. But I'm recommending that you allow me to file a 5-day waiver with TEA tomorrow morning.
Do I have a motion regarding this agenda item? Mr. Shackman.
Dr. Black, hearing the explanation by Dr. Chapman, I move that we approve allowing him to apply for a waiver for the necessary days to compensate for the bad weather.
Mr. Shackman has made a motion that we approve a motion or a resolution for a waiver. Is there a second? Mr. Bocek. Mr. Bocek seconds it. Is there any discussion? No discussion. All in favor, please show by raising your hand. Opposed? By a vote of 4-0, the motion carries.
Somebody will once I talk.
Okay.
The board member must read.
All right. So the next item is 6C, consider approved resolution for emergency closures. Oh, I think I may have missed. Is it emergency closures due to winter weather?
Yes, sir. Emergency closures due to winter weather.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So during this time of closure, we have certified employees that are paid per day 187-day contract for a teacher, for an example, many administrators on 226 days. What about our non-certified staff? This is very similar to what we did back in March, April, and May of last year to COVID. We are not allowed to pay employees whenever they have not worked. Therefore, if the board does not pass this resolution in front of you tonight, we will not be paying these employees for days they did not work during the winter storm. And I am highly recommending that we pay for these employees. It wasn't their fault. We had a closure, and therefore I believe that they need to be compensated for this time. If the board so chooses to approve the resolution, it does have to be read aloud tonight, and then we will do the appropriate paperwork to make sure that no one's salary is deducted for that time off. No, make a motion in a second. Read it.
Is there a motion regarding this agenda item? Ms. Derrick?
I'm happy to make the motion. Do you need me to read? Okay. Whereas from February 11th through February 19th, 2021, severe winter weather was experienced in Dallas County and throughout the state of Texas. And whereas on February 12th, 2021, Governor Greg Abbott declared a state of disaster for the state of Texas due to the severe winter weather. And whereas Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD, acting in the best interest of the health and safety of students and staff, ordered the emergency closures of all district facilities on February 11th, February 16th through 19th, 2021. And whereas due to these circumstances, employees must miss work days during these closures. And whereas the Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD Board acknowledges that during an emergency closure, many district employees are instructed not to report for work, and other employees may be called upon to provide emergency-related services. And whereas the Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD Board finds that a need exists to address wage payments for employees who were idled and those who were required to work during emergency closures. And whereas Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD's board policy, DEA local, states that during an emergency closure, the board may choose to pay employees for workdays not scheduled to be made up at a later date, provided that authorization shall be by resolution or other board action. And whereas the superintendent or designee shall approve payments and ensure that accurate time records are kept of actual hours worked by non-exempt employees during emergency closure. Whereas the Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD Board finds that it retains sufficient control over payment of employee compensation for the period of closure to ensure that such public purposes are accomplished. And whereas the Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD Board finds that it is in the best interest of Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD and the Carrollton-Farmers Branch, and that Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD will receive a return benefit from providing compensation during the closure. Now, therefore, be it resolved that all the above referenced paragraphs are incorporated into and made part of this resolution, that it is hereby found, determined, and declared that emergency closures of all Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD facilities were a necessary and appropriate response to the severe winter weather, that eligible Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD employees shall be paid pursuant to their regular duty schedule for the time of the closure. The board hereby authorizes the superintendent to excuse absences of district employees and pay full compensation to employees as deemed appropriate to fulfill the purpose of this resolution.
Is there a second? Ms. Urbacek. We have a second from Ms. Urbacek. All those in favor, please raise their hand. All those opposed? By a vote of 4-0, the motion carries. That brings us to agenda item number 7, comments from board members regarding posting agenda items. Board members, do any of you have comments you wish to make at this time related to the posted agenda?
Dr.
Mr. Shackman.
I would like to point out for the record, and I know a number of people watch us online, absolutely it's imperative that we pay our non-exempt folks during this same time. But that's not adding to our budget. We had planned to pay them in the first place. So it is simply saying, look, we're going to take care of our people.
Thank you for that clarification. I think that's important. Other board members, any comments regarding the agenda tonight? Hearing none, I believe we've reached the end of our agenda, and ladies, we have adjourned at 8:49 p.m.